Where's my little partner? Stay close. Can't hear you. No, just do up. That means I turn up the volume. So the Wright brothers, December 17th, 1903, that very first flight. That airplane is on display in our museum downtown. Everybody good? This is the only artifact I'll show you today that's not an original. This is a faithful reproduction of the Wright brothers' 1908 airplane. Our curators refer to the 1908 airplane as the first commercial aircraft because the Wright brothers actually had a contract in their hand when they built it. By 1905, the Wright brothers felt they had this flying thing down pat, and they said, we're not going to fly or demonstrate or build another airplane until somebody pays us. And by the end of 1907, they finally got two of them. One from our U.S. War Department, that's what we called the Department of Defense back then, and one from a French syndicate in Paris. So let me try to explain the Wright brothers' success. The Wright brothers were true aeronautical engineers. This wasn't a hobby to the Wright brothers. They gathered as much information as they could from they actually wrote letters to the Smithsonian and asked for any literature on aviation that the Smithsonian may have. Then they did extensive testing and kept detailed notes of all of their test flights. They knew exactly how strong the wind was. They knew exactly how far the aircraft would. They started with gliders, and they started with kites actually, then went to gliders, keeping detailed records which eventually helped them determine the size of the wings. They built their own wind tunnel. It was only about 6 feet long, but they were the first to use wind tunnel data to fashion the shapes for the propellers and the wings. No one else had ever done that before. The Wright brothers were the first to figure out that the propeller, notice there are two of them on this aircraft. They're both vertical behind the wings. That means they're pushing the airplane. Modern airplanes that have the propeller in front, the engine is pulling. These are pushing. They were the first to figure out that a wing is nothing more, a propeller is nothing more than a rotating wing providing thrust or lift in a lateral direction, while the wings provide lift in a vertical direction. No one else had figured that out. And finally, the Wright brothers figured out the 3 axes of control. I used to ask people, how many axes of control are there? And they'd look at my 3 fingers and they wouldn't give me an answer, so now I answer it. There's 3 axes of control: pitch, yaw, and roll. Pitch is the up and down of an airplane. Yaw, back and forth, not yaw, it's yaw. And then roll, the banking, the efficient turning of an airplane by banking the wings. In order to affect the pitch, the up and down of the nose, the Wright brothers used these surfaces out front. Today we call them the elevator, and today those elevators on a modern airplane are way back here. My pointer. It's the trailing edge of the stabilizer in the back. There we go. Those are the elevators. That's how we affect the pitch today. The Wright brothers put theirs right out front of the aircraft. Why? Well, I think because they needed some additional protection, because they crashed their airplanes constantly. By the way, this is a twin-seat airplane. Can you see those tiny seats there? Wow. This is a twin-seat airplane. 1, 2. Orville is sitting here, passenger there. No seat belts? No, I know. It's kind of like, it's corduroy, so if you wear corduroy pants, you have almost a Velcro effect. The yaw, the back and forth of the nose. You gotta keep it light. The back and forth of the nose, the left and the right, is affected by the rudder. Those are the 2 vertical surfaces back here. I don't want to point and blind somebody, but you can see them. Just like modern airplanes, or rudders are in the back of modern airplanes. And then the roll, the ability to bank an airplane. No one until 1903 had figured out how to do that. The Wright brothers twisted the wingtips. See all the wires between the wings? The pilot would move this lever right here. There's 2 of them together. He would move them at the same time because it just worked better that way. One lever turned the rudder. The other lever would twist the wingtips. It would manipulate these wires to twist the wingtip. If you had more lift on your left wingtip, the airplane would turn to the right because the left wingtip would go up. That's how they figured it out. Orville, actually it was Wilbur, I believe, who figured it out by watching birds fly. My daughter one time asked me, Dad, do you think we would ever fly if the Wright brothers had never seen a bird or a dragonfly or anything fly? Don't ask me questions like that. No, it's a good question though. If you had never seen a bird fly, would we know to get off the ground? I digress. In 1908, the Wright brothers had 2 contracts. Orville took an airplane that looked just like this to Fort Myer, Virginia, near Arlington Cemetery, not far from here, to demonstrate the airplane that they bid to the U.S. War Department. They bid $25,000 for an airplane. And on September 17, 1908, Orville is sitting in the seat on our right as we face it. A young Army officer named Thomas Selfridge is sitting in the other flight, and they're tooling around Fort Myer, about 100 feet off the ground, and what happens? Orville crashes the airplane. Dives it straight into the ground. One of his propellers cracked. It snagged a control wire, completely out of control. When rescue workers got to them, they were both unconscious. Orville survived with a broken hip, and he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. Selfridge did not survive. He became the first fatality of a powered airplane in September 1908. The Wright brothers came back the next year with another airplane that was accepted by the military, and they got $30,000 for it. Any questions on the Wright brothers? Yes, sir.
Is one of the wings longer than the other?
These elevators?
On the wing, the actual wing itself. Is that,
I don't know.
That's
a good question. It may be a centimeter or 2. I don't know. That's a very good question. I'll look that up someday.
maybe one's longer to balance the weight of the wing.
Good. Let's wait for him to stop. And we're going to head right. Did you have a question, sir? No. No, you're good.